again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Coffee Shop Show. I am Sondra Ray. I am the host of the amazing Coffee Shop Show, sponsored by the Explore ProTech community. And today's topic is very interesting to me because as much as we don't want the world to go, the world to revolve around money, business revolves around money. Gotta make it, gotta have it, you need it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's charities out there, but even charities need money. People need money to make a business grow. So we're going to continue the conversation about money. Today, we are going to talk about some different options. We talked about this a little bit last week, and we're going to talk about this more this week. Peter, how are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I think this is actually really an incredible topic. And I think it's not a one-size-fits-all topic. Every space is going to be so different. So it's not like what we're going to say is like, oh, that's the golden rule. You have to do that. It doesn't work like that at all. I think people might be at different stages of their business. Some might be at startup. Some might be in the space where they're 5 years down the line, and their requirements are going to be completely different. So I think it's just a case of covering the topics of what's available and how it works. But I think one or two of those are probably in this community space, probably more the prevalent types of funding, or the methods in which we can go forward to get funding.
Yeah, I agree. I think, there's definitely, we listed like 5, and I actually thought of a 6th one already since we talked 2 minutes ago. So I definitely think there is definitely different ones. And yes, everybody is in different places and different seasons. And, what fits for you might not fit for, I know what fits for me doesn't fit for you. It doesn't fit for Hendrick, we're all not very different, but we are very different in a lot of respects far as funding. So we talked about some of them before we started. So you have the capital, you have the loans, the basic business loan, you have the capital venture, you have bootstrapping, you have grants, you have, what was the other one you thought of? Shoot.
There's crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. That was the other one. I was like, this starts with a C. So, yeah. So now we have a list of them. Like, okay, what are they? How do we get them?
Well, I think let's start with crowdfunding. I think that's a good one to cover. I think crowdfunding is a really good way of utilizing the relationships around you. And I've noticed a lot of people actually utilize crowdfunding in a space where they don't have relationships with anyone. They create a crowdfunding platform, and then they push it out there as far and as wide as a cause, going, please support me. I am in the process of doing X, Y, and Z, and I need your money to do this. And either people will be like, well, actually, I really want to see them achieve that, and they will and they'll put towards that goal. Sometimes that can be a business, sometimes that can be a cause. It can be, it can be somebody's in hospital and they're fighting for their lives, and let's all push to pay medical bills, and a crowdfunding space can be set up. The crowdfunding can be used in many ways. But I see that the market is now saturated with people that are just now saying, give me your money. I'm doing a crowdfunding thing, give me your money. And either people will follow the cause. I think it's a really good way to, especially if you're using a really like a reputable platform to do your crowdfunding. There's some guarantees in that space where I know that we've utilized that space before, where somebody wanted to gather their fees to cover maybe a course they wanted to do. And they would tell their story as to why they wanted to do that course. And the course never happened. But here's the safety feature. All the people that paid money into that particular campaign, if what they're paying for doesn't come to fruition, it is the platform that holds the finances. And the money then goes back to the people that actually paid the money in the first place, because, so there's a certain level of safety in the fact that if somebody's doing crowdfunding, that there are certain checks in place that the money needs to go to the correct space and for the correct thing. And setting up, something we learned is that setting up a crowdfunding campaign is an art all on its own. It's incredible to watch. I remember Darlene was actually involved with helping a few potential students set up their campaigns and tell their stories and why people should actually invest their money in their future. So I think it's an interesting space. Not one I would like to rely on, but if I had to, I would go there.
I think it's a time and place. There's a time and a place for it. But like you said, oversaturating it or overusing it definitely gets old. And I'm thinking about we're going to the holiday season, so giving and charities and all that stuff is huge in the next 3 months. And I find that a little bit similar to crowdfunding. I know it's not exactly, but it's really about giving money. Basically, you're giving money to help someone. And then, unfortunately, in the United States, we had a devastating hurricane the end of last week. So we have like 3 different states that are just totally people can't get out, people can't get anywhere, and all that stuff. So people are the fundraising's coming out this week about raising all for that. And we were actually talking about that in our household this weekend too, that all the commercials for all the big, like St. Jude's, the hospitals, are back now. Like the commercials kind of dwindled down in the summer, but now that the fall lineup is out and the shows are out and all the new shows are out and seasons are out, and we were like, oh yeah, these 3-4 minute commercials are back because people are on the TV. So, and I know crowdfunding is not exactly like that, but I do know that I don't know. For me, it fits into that category of quote unquote charity, because you're investing in somebody's
correct
dream or cause or whatever. So crowdfunding is definitely one. Venture capital. I don't know much about this one. You want to explain that one? Because this is not my forte.
Well, let me start off by saying it's not my forte either. I do have a basic understanding of it, which is something that as an entrepreneur you need to have an understanding. If you're an entrepreneur and you don't actually create the spaces where you understand what it is that's required, or the space that you're stepping into, then you need to get yourself informed. Yeah, otherwise people are talking business and you're just going along with the flow and you don't actually understand what you're getting into. But venture capital, equity, in essence, and I heard Nastine, my co-founder, and she is qualified to speak in these spaces, speak of it as a pie. So either you are making your own pie all for yourself, or you're having somebody else make the pie for you, or you're making a pie and you're giving pieces of it away. It's three very basic spaces that kind of explain the difference between equity, debt, or bootstrapping. Bootstrapping, you're doing it all for yourself. Debt, you're going to go into debt to build your pie, and you're going to have to pay that money back. So you're going to have to be 100% sure that you are doing it the right way. Equity, you're giving away a piece of the pie. But this is where you have to be smart. You have to know that your business is positioned in such a way that you can give away a piece of the pie. Because if you're stepping into a space with equity and your space is not designed for it, and you're giving away a piece of a pie, you got to know exactly what you're doing. My advice in that space definitely would be, don't wing it. Never wing it. Don't just think, oh, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I know what I'm doing, I'm just going to do this. Don't do that. Always seek professional advice, whether that advice be from an attorney, whether advice be from somebody in the financial space that understands business. Always get the advice that you need. I think it's extremely important that, and if you're going to create a space where you're going to give away a piece of the pie, the person that you're giving a piece of the pie away to needs to understand that it's beneficial for them too, because it almost becomes like well, depending on how much of the pie you give away, but it can almost become a partnership. But at the same time, the terms of that agreement have to be put in place extremely well. If you do not put terms in place, then somebody could end up with more of your pie than you've got, yet you might be the person doing the work. And their investment might be financial. So it's got to be balanced. It's either your checks and double checks and information has to be triple checked. And I think this is where it helps speaking to people that have been in those spaces before. Have I been in that space before? No. Have I almost been in that space before? Yes. Do I want to be in that space? No. But my business is very different. Whereas somebody else's space, their answers might be exactly opposite to mine. So I think it's all about understanding what business you're in, what method would be the best method for you to use going forward. Like I said before, it's not a one size fits all. What might work for my business might not work for yours. What might be necessary for my business might be devastating to yours. So, you've got to choose what's right for you. And then also at the end of the day, you've also got to choose, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice? You're an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is hard work. Whoever spun that story of, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to spend all my days on the beach and I'm going to live like a king and people are going to fan me with leaves while they feed me grapes. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It is not like that. It is not like that. So being an entrepreneur means sacrifice. And are you willing to be the one that's going to sacrifice it all on your own? At the end of the day, when your space becomes successful, do you want to be the only one that benefits from the hard work that's been put in? Is it possible to achieve the goal that you need to achieve without giving away equity? Maybe. maybe not. Maybe you need to give away equity to get to where you want to go. So it's all about making 100% sure that the path that you choose is the correct path for you. That is my that's my understanding of equity. It's about understanding where you need to be and do you need it or not.
Right. And I love how Susan wrote it up. Choosing the right funding options depends on your business goals, your growth stage, and your risk tolerance, which is what you just talked about. Like, what are you willing to give up? Whether that's a piece of the pie, whether that's your time, whether it's, services. I've known some people that, exchange services for investments. I've known people that, they get 5%, 10% of forever for time limits.
Correct.
And I think the biggest thing is knowing what you're doing, seeking the right advice from the right people, people that have either done it, financial institutes, lawyers. In the US, we have the Small Business Association. They offer actually classes on different funding types. And it's a free resource in the US. So you have mentors, you have classes. I even know Verizon actually has a Verizon entrepreneurship platform because I'm signed up for it. And they offer classes, and a lot of them are around funding, how to get funding, how to do it legally, safely, without giving up your rights, your business rights, basically, is extremely important. But I think that risk tolerance is a big piece of that. Like, what are you risking? And can you risk things? When you're starting out, you might not be able to keep it all. You might have to risk things to get the growth or to get started, or, but making sure exactly what you're signing and who and what they're signing. What are they getting in exchange for signing whatever they're signing? I'm very big on legal contracts. I'm super big on contracts. People are just like, it's a barter, it's this, it's that. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And both sides need to know. Both sides need to know.
That's why we have the Nicolines of the world.
Yes. I'm super excited. She will be talking about some of those later, I think in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Definitely. One thing we haven't talked about is grants. Like, grants for sure are options. Grants can be a rabbit hole, at least in my personal opinion, and in my little bit of grant researching. You can research and find a gazillion million, no joke, gazillion million for tons and tons of different types of businesses. That's great, but then you need to know how to write your grant proposal. That is like the very big key on that. And yes, I've hired a grant writer. There's lots of options on doing that. There's a whole bunch of platforms too. So grants are definitely out there. The research can get you hours in the weeds. You have to be very careful that you don't go down the rabbit hole, because you'll apply for a grant that has 50,000 people applying for it and you're not going to get anything. So you got to be very diligent on your research and then on the writing of it too. So I know they're very good options. I know a platform that just got a 30,000 grant this last week. So they're out there. You just have to know how, where, and what to do to be successful at it. Because again, you can waste a lot of time and money if you're paying people to write your grants, which I did. And unfortunately, I did not win any. But and thankfully, it was a small investment because she was just starting out. So it was a win-win. She learned things, I learned things, and we learned the lessons, and definitely moved on. So I don't want to say grants are definitely an option, but that proposal part is a huge piece of it. And if you don't know how to write the proposal, then you're not going to get very far. So again, having resources is extremely important. Mikey, we're talking about funding, how to fund your business. Come on in.
Hi guys, hi everybody. So I just want to touch base again on the various options for funding, and then the specifically on the investment funding, where you may have to, or probably will have to let up equity, and then the concern is how much of equity and how much is worth the percentage. But that can be calculated, no doubt. I mean, the amount of percentage equity that you're willing to give up versus how much some investors willing to pay is actually a calculable amount. Now, having said that, though, here's a thing, and I think many entrepreneurs are in the pickle, and it's something to think about. So, a true entrepreneur, there's a business owners and entrepreneurs, and there's actually a difference. So, entrepreneurs look at businesses or need to actually, even if they part of developing the business at its core, that some businesses or sometimes they need to let go to move on to a new venture or a new business, and they can't continually hold on or work or in one business and that's it. If they do, then they become a business owner or a business person in that particular organization or company. And the reason I raise this is because it goes back to the equity. And if you willing or needing funding and willing to give up equity, you've got to look at it without the emotional aspect of the hard sweat and tears and heart that you put into the business, and be willing to give up ownership, essentially if percentages of ownership to the business, and in order to get the funding to grow. That's what it comes down to. And ideally, if you're an entrepreneur, you would let the business establish itself and then also look at moving on to new ventures. Now, the reason I raise this is because if people will say no, but they don't want to let go ownership and they built this business and etc., etc. But true entrepreneurs, for example, if you look at tycoons in industry, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, in South African context, you got Adrian Gore for Discovery as an example. These are founders of these behemoths organizations. But if you actually looked at their shareholding percentage of how much they own or of those each business and shares, you'd be shocked at how small their actual percentage ownerships are. They may be still in the majority holder, but it's still tiny percentages. And you've got to imagine all of them, how they started with their own business, these big corporations. They had to let go of percentages over the years, and although it's a minor percent, but they also move on, and then they move on to different businesses or ventures, or whether it's in the same umbrella or completely new. But that's what being an entrepreneur is. You gotta be strategic about how much you're willing to let go, and also you gotta let that emotional side of it not interfere on the bigger picture of the aspect of the growth for the company and organization. And the best entrepreneurs will know even at times when they need to step back, because for the growth of the business, there are times they need to step back and let others take reign, because they may have more knowledge and expertise in a particular field or the like to get the business growing. So yeah, that's just something for people to think about when it comes to investment, venture capitalists, investments, and percentages equity that need to be let go. Yeah.
Thanks, Mikey. Yeah, that actually brought up a good thing too. That a reminder for myself. Multiple streams of income. You just diversifying yourself so that you are. So yeah, I know lots. Well, I guess because my niche is multiple business owners with multiple businesses. Like that's just a common thing for me, that they have more than one stream of income, and that is something that I'm also working on as a business owner, and I'm up to 3. So, well, yeah. So yeah, that is something definitely that helps invest. And I have actually, the very first business owner I worked with, that was her favorite thing, was to buy and sell, build it, sell it, build it, sell it. So some people, that is their thing. So that is definitely, for sure, an opportunity. Peter, as far as we talked about this beforehand, but like energy exchanges, barters, and things like that, like I know that's something we haven't yet touched on. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think this is relatively new. For those of you that don't know what bootstrapping is, you should know because it was spoken about last week. And I think bootstrapping is an interesting space to be in. It can cost you a lot personally. It can cost you a lot financially. It can cost you a lot emotionally. It can cost you a lot across the board. Because, like Mikey alluded to earlier, blood, sweat, and tears. Sometimes we pour our living selves into something in order to make it work. And sometimes we think we're just at that point, we're just a little more, just a little more, just a little more. And we're entrepreneurs, we're hard-headed, we just don't stop. We see the end goal, or we have a particular goal in mind, and we don't want to stop until we get there. It takes a lot of personal growth to get there. It takes a lot of personal development to get over all the things that you're currently losing while you're on that journey. There's a lot you have to invest. And you do, something I learned a long time ago is that you do what you can with what you've got. But then you need to be well aware of what it is that you have. So, and entrepreneurship is obviously, well, it's often referred to as a very lonely journey where you're an entrepreneur, you're an island, you have this business, you're going to push blood, sweat, and tears, and you're going to drive it, and you're going to drive it until it's successful. Bootstrapping in its basic form. But now I want to throw a little bit of fireworks into that pot. I don't know if anybody has ever heard somebody say, "Oh, my 5-year plan," or "my 10-year plan." You know, anybody ever? You guys you've heard people all, yeah, my 10-year plan is in 10 years' time I'm going to do exactly this. The measurement used to measure is they're basically measuring themselves. They're going, based on my skills over a certain period of time, I can achieve X amount in this amount of time based on just me. So with my own skills, I can bootstrap it, and in 10 years' time, I can have this. Well, that's nice. But entrepreneurship doesn't have to be a lonely journey, because you're not the only entrepreneur in the world. There are others. Surprise, surprise. There are other entrepreneurs in the world, and they're currently doing the same thing. They're driving a space. They're pushing hard, blood, sweat, and tears. But now what happens when both of those entrepreneurs have skill sets that might benefit each other? Now we're stepping into the space of energy exchange, where, and I think this is where networking actually originally got a really bad name. You know, networking for me, the original form of networking, isn't just so that I can promote my business, step into a space, given an opportunity to promote my business for a minute, and then somebody else gets to promote theirs, and then so on and so forth. And everybody seems to be missing out on one of the biggest assets that possibly exist. Other entrepreneurs are huge assets, huge assets. And the opportunity that's being missed are the relationships that could form if people were just actually given the opportunity to build real relationships. When you build a real relationship with another entrepreneur, you get to know what their business is. You get to know what skills they had to require in order to build their business. You get to figure out if some of those skills are skills that you perhaps don't have yet, or will never have. You just don't know until you actually bother to find out. So the energy exchange space for me is one of building relationships extremely strategically, getting to know the people around you, getting to know what they need, because what they need is something that you might have. And if it's something that you have and you have it in abundance, but they have something that you need, then there is a space where certain energies can be exchanged, where I can do this for you, but you can do that for me, and we can both grow. Do you think the 5-year or 10-year plan is still in effect? Not at all. We tested the theory with, I'll mention his name, Marlon August, made the fatal mistake of, in a community meeting where we had a whole bunch of entrepreneurs, he mentioned that his 5-year plan was to achieve a particular project within 5 years. And we then as a group decided to test the waters. What would it take for him to do it on his own? Well, he measured that. It would take 5 years. What would it take if all of us in the group took a little bit of responsibility and we pushed that project? How long would it take? Well, the answer was 4 months. So 4, 5, 4. Don't quote me on that. It was less than 6 months. People are basically opportunities. So if we're looking at the funding space, where we're looking to either get somebody in that's going to take shares in our business and they have equity and then we grow the business that way, or whether we are doing crowdfunding, or whether we're getting ourselves into debt, or, and each one of these need to be measured. But I think your first port of call as an entrepreneur is to first go the route of bootstrapping. And then as you're bootstrapping, find communities of people that are bootstrapping too. And then see whether or not you can actually avoid other forms of funding, whether you can avoid the crowdfunding, avoid the giving away equity or getting yourself into debt. If you can do that, then that's great. But then for other businesses, it might not work to do it that way around. It might work to do it the opposite way around, where it's like, no, actually, because of the type of business I have, I can only achieve X if I do go into debt, or if because no relationship is going to help me. Maybe it's not a service space. Maybe it's a product space. Maybe it's maybe it's a space that's got heavy equipment. Hence, point in case. No amount of skill sets is just going to throw heavy equipment at you. You need to actually acquire that equipment. So every space is going to be completely different, but you have to measure it and measure it again. It's not a thing of measure one, cut, measure once, measure twice, cut once. No, you continuously measure it. Then you cut. But you don't cut until you've measured multiple times. Because if you make the wrong choice and you step into the wrong space for the wrong business, problems. We have problems. Then everybody's like, oh, emergency. We have to now fix what we've done.
Exactly. Then you're SOSing instead of asking for energy changes, you're asking for savers. I think the other part of that is that, one, you have to be in the right community. I definitely think that is very true, which is why Explore ProTech to me is so important. Relationships first, coffee first, business later. Oh my gosh, I was gonna flip the freaking motto. I think the other piece to that is vulnerability. Nobody can help you if you don't need help. Oh my goodness, words today. Nobody can help you if you don't open your mouth and speak the correct words. So a person in this room checked on me last week and did not have a dang clue that I was losing my crap, basically. And when he, as in Peter, checked on me for a completely different reason, I was honest and said, I'm quitting. I'm done. Bye. Let me go get a day job. 100%. Being honest. So literally sitting on my couch going, nope, I don't care. Everybody can go away. Leave me alone. And Peter's like, maybe not. But if I had not opened up and said that this is truly where I'm at, he couldn't help me. And I could have sat on the couch the rest of the day and not did anything and disappointed my clients, disappointed, people around me by being in my own funk and staying there because I truly was like, yeah, I'm not going to tell him, hey, you said something nice and I'm going to move on with my day. But no, truly, I am grateful that he checked on me randomly. and I honestly don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything's for a reason, but you have to be vulnerable. And I have a friend, an entrepreneur, that literally that's her line. Vulnerability is dope. And if you're not vulnerable, doesn't mean you have to tell not that your whole life has to be out there hanging out for everybody to see. My brother was in a situation this weekend, and he put it out there, and then he took it down because he's like, I don't need everybody knowing my business. It was a crappy thing that happened, but it's my business. And I checked on him, and he's like, yeah, I just don't really need everybody to know. So there is a time and place for being vulnerable. I don't hear your pity story 7 times a week. Like, what are you going to do about it? But the vulnerability can get you the help you need. So whether that's in business, your personal, your mental health, your physical health, you have to be able to speak up and find your voice. So definitely, and that is something we do in this community, encourage. So, some students are afraid to come into the room because they think it's scary. We're all friends. We all know you guys. We talk to you on the YouTube. We want you to come in the room. We don't want you to be scared. And you can be a quiet observer for a while. Mr. Hendrick has been that for a long time, and I will eventually coax you out of that. But eventually is a key word. I know Kelsey was another one. She's just like, I don't want to speak in front of people. We've coaxed her and encouraged her and got her to the point where she was a guest expert. Rhoda was the same one. She's like, I don't know, I can't do that. We will support you. We will not throw you into fire. Promise you, students, we will not throw you into fire. You can come in the room and listen and watch for a time, and then, I will eventually call on you, but because I think your opinion matters. But Peter, I'm going to let Hendrick go first. Go, Hendrick. Yeah, you didn't have to call on him. He knew I was going to anyways, but hi, Hendrick.
Evening, everyone. So that's a very informative session that you're having. The more Peter and Mikey talking about the difference, the more it also becomes a bit clearer to me that let me start with what Mikey said. Mikey said, at one stage, you need to build a business with the idea of telling yourself that one day I may have to let go or get people on board to assist me in running the business, or you may even end up owning less shares than you ever anticipated. So first, I think the most important thing we need to understand also is, as business people, we take the risk and our rewards is directly linked to the risk that we take. So with that being said, most businesses, especially in my field, can only operate or grow if there's a huge degree of debt. I learned this also the hard way. What happened was, a few years back, I bought the company vehicles, bikes, to say we're going to use them. And I bought them cash, not knowing a few months down the line, we had a project which needed cash injection. So that was a lesson to me to say, had we bought the bike he's using a debt, we would have had cash injection. So that can also be a very important aspect in the day-to-day running of the business, the growth of the business. The more debt you accumulate as a business, it may be actually what pushes you in the right direction to grow. It just needs you to be disciplined in the sense that you just don't make any debts for the sake of saying that a business must have debts. So again, with when I echo what Mikey said, it's very important to decide as a business owner early on in the business, if you are starting the business, to be self-sustainable and just to be able to have enough money to carry you or to provide for yourself. Or are you building a business that you need to see maybe having multiple branches, be a national or cultural business. The moment you get to that point, it also assists in you making the decision to say, I'm not going to take debts, or I am going to take debts. You need also to differentiate between your personal life and your business. This is actually something that I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to buy a piece of land and build a warehouse or a workshop. However, all those things, I'm building them under my name so that the business, once that is done, the business still needs to pay monthly rent or lease to me, so that should it happen that few years down the line, I decide to say, okay, I'm closing down or I'm selling this part of the business, I'm starting another project, then those are two different assets or things that I can sell differently. Instead of me just everything is under the business name, and then when things start going south, me personally and the business suffer. So by doing this, I'm also trying to maintain the responsibility of saying that even if something is mine, the business still needs to pay for it. Nothing is for free, irrespective of is that thing yours or not. If you've got a business today and you've got your vehicle, your private vehicle, and you're using it to advance the business still needs to pay you for that. So there are many ways of generating funds or generating an income, but at the same time, you need to treat the business as any other business so that it can grow.
Yeah. Oh, yes, please.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. I think this is where wisdom needs to come. This is wisdom's playground. If wisdom was a person, we would build him a playground. This would be it. This is where you need to exercise wisdom. This is where you need to be patient and listen to wisdom. This is where you need to. Are we generally in this space, the wisdom? No, we're not. I think we can talk about these spaces and we can make them relevant, or we can describe what they are. But because each business is so unique, what will work for Hendrick will not work for me. And what will work for me will not work for Hendrick. I think in this space, between us and Hendrick, we are probably the most opposite. We're the most opposite in regards to a business. But that doesn't mean, and I think this is what Hendrick was alluding to as well. It doesn't mean that we don't have to do the same thing. What's going to work for me will work for me. What will work for Hendrick will work for Hendrick. However, the one thing that we both need to do is we both need to exercise wisdom. We both need to actually speak to the relevant people that can advise us on either they've been there before, or they have been in that space before and been very successful at it. Or they are somebody from a financial space where they deal with these things all the time. This is something that you need to, these are relationships you need to build. Talking to your next door neighbor that has an opinion is not going to help you. That is not going to help you. This is where you actually go and you seek advice from the right people. Sometimes you might even need to pay for that advice, but it is well worth paying for the advice than paying for it later. We never want to pay for things later because generally it costs you more than you can afford. So making the right decisions now is definitely the best way to go. And if you're a startup entrepreneur and you're listening to this conversation, please do not think that we are saying you need to go find investment and you need to choose one of the above. Please don't think that. if you're a startup entrepreneur, remain in that space for as long as possible. You will know when the time is right that you either need to grow, develop, build. But if you are getting by with what you've got right now, then continue to get by with what you've got and build until it gets to that point where actually, if we just do this and take this step, then the growth will be like that. So it becomes calculated. Build the relationship with your financial advisors. Get to know them. Your accountants, get to know them. Your attorneys, get to know them. People that have been in business, especially businesses like your own, get to know them. You know, either they've been there before and they've been successful. What did they do? How did they get there? What are they left with now? What does it look like? It's not like, I think of the Bible, it says there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever we're doing, somebody has done it before. Some of them successfully and some of them not. Find the ones that have been successful and learn from them. Then find the ones that have not been successful and learn from them too, because you can learn from people's mistakes. Some of those people teach their mistakes so that we can avoid them. So don't get stuck in the space of thinking this is a one size fits all. I can follow one, choose one of these routes, follow it and get money. No, it doesn't work that way. It pays to be wise. And something I learned a long time ago is that I'm generally not wise. I'm not wise at all. The only thing wise that I've ever really put in place or ever done is made sure that when I need to make a choice, I'm always speaking to somebody that's possibly made that choice before. And I'm looking at the results of what did that choice lead to, or where did it go? Or I'm positioning somebody else that is wise. Hence the fact that we have the coffee shop conversation show with all the specialists that arrive, because they are the specialists on topics that I am just not a specialist on. Am I a specialist on this topic today? No. Do we have access to people that are? Yes, we do. So in my mind, surround yourself with strong people. Only do what's necessary at the time. That's it. You build that solid foundation first.
Yeah, very, very important. As far as coaches and mentors, yes, everybody needs them. I'm very high cheerleader for that. And I know big business owners have them. Like, I literally have been in rooms with big business owners and they have coaches and mentors. The only caveat to that is, well, two things. One, review, make sure you still need them, and that what they're teaching you applies to where you're at now, every 3 months, aka quarterly review. Second is find somebody that's willing to show you not only what is in the public, but what is behind closed doors, because you will learn way more from that than you will if you follow amazing people online who look like they have their stuff together. And that is far, 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 far from the truth. The other caveat is, unfortunately, once you see behind closed doors, you cannot unsee it. Been there, done that. Unfollowed somebody huge in a community I was in, and I was like, I've seen behind closed doors, guys. I'm not going to air their dirty laundry. It wasn't on my to do. But I definitely pulled back and was like, okay, yep, I can't follow the public persona when the personal persona do not match, because I am very big about vulnerability and truth. So, but yeah, make sure whoever you're talking to or whoever you invest in, that, they're really truly doing what they say. And they're not a lot of fluff, because you're not going to learn the lessons. You're not going to learn their lessons if they're just telling you the good points and not the bad and the ugly, because all businesses have the bad and the ugly. That's just, I don't care if you're, Tesla or Apple or anything else. There's definitely been the bad and the ugly. And and actually there's like a lot of documentaries. I follow somebody on social media that breaks down the documentaries. Like one was the owner of WWE and like the lessons he learned along the way. And a lot of people are putting that out there now, and you can find that very easily, how things really looked versus what TV and social media did. So definitely, you can learn those lessons by just watching people, watching their behaviors, is very important for sure, Peter. Well, we thought we were going to struggle with this, Peter, and guess what? We made it through an hour.
No.
I knew we weren't going to struggle. So I am super grateful for everybody that has tuned in on the live and of course the panel. And hopefully we can get some of these people from the live into the room. I'm going to highly encourage that. Even Kelsey spoke up that it's not that bad to be in the room. So, but yeah, my name is Sondra. I'm the owner of Get It Done Coaching, and I help you reach your goals by creating bite-sized action plans and holding you accountable. We want to give a special shout out to Susan, who does all our graphics, our show notes. She also turns it into a podcast on Spotify, so make sure you follow us and give us a rating on Spotify. And of course, share the show. The show only grows if we share it. And we want entrepreneurs to give feedback and bring in more guests and bring in the right people in the community so that we can have all the energy exchanges to help you grow your business. And then Somerville, of course, cannot forget Somerville. She does amazing back end, back things. She likes to be in the back end and quiet. But we know we can't grow without her for sure. Peter, any announcements or last words? Words.
No announcements yet. However, to the students from the Ignite program, and I know you're probably watching on YouTube. Slowly but surely, you're actually filtering into this space, becoming members of the Explore ProTech platform, joining the WhatsApp group and the community. These are spaces that you can get involved in. Have fun with it, because we are. So, sometimes spaces seem quite daunting. Don't worry so much. I'll take a line from a song lyric, which is "Don't worry, be happy." Just get into the space, enjoy the people. Let's see how we can actually build this. And once again, it's not for points. This is not for points. You will not be getting points, but share the content. Share the content. The more this space grows, the more you're involved in the space that's currently growing. The more we get seen, the more you get seen, the better it is for all of us. We push as a community, we grow as a community. So come and join us and have some fun. I think what I would like to do is just end off with the words once again from our famous Esteemed Botha, Tribe Mom. She's got the trophy. It's great. May all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams